welcome to Olsem Wanem. The world is combating the problems of climate change and global warming, flash floods, droughts, and hurricanes. Our country, Papua New Guinea, has its share of the effects. Rising sea levels in the coast and food scarcity in the highlands faces a growing population. In this episode, we take you to Ontabura Primary School in the Obura Wadinara district of the Eastern Highlands province, where students are preparing for the effects. Bethany Harriman has more.
80% of the estimated 7 million people in our country are subsistence farmers in rural areas. But in recent times, nature has posed a serious threat to their way of life. Climate change has already begun in our country. In coastal parts, the sea is eroding shorelines, displacing people. In the inlands, especially the highlands, certain food crops aren't yielding like they used to, raising concerns about food scarcity. But Ontabura Primary School, beyond the trees in the Obura Wadinara district of the Eastern Highlands, may have some answers. Together with students and help from outside organizations, the school is fighting the battle of climate change and the effects that come with it.
So the children, we find out, we have done a lot of program with them, and they are doing all this planting of these materials. After planting them, once it is harvested, we distribute it again to the students to take back, and then they educate their own family members.
Vincent Tobul is a primary school teacher in charge of a program that aims to educate children on basic farming techniques. The techniques are taught on these small garden plots outside the classroom. On one plot, children are showed the basics in planting soya beans, corn, and even wheat.
And tapia, what is it? Rice. All right, this one, soya bean. All right, long tambloya. Kau now by implago na kasawa. Na this one, sweet corn is on the side. Na lokon suon longam.
The idea is simple: educate children on the importance of food security to combat the effects of climate change. The school gardens set within the schoolyard, just meters away from the classroom, give students the ideal learning experience. These small plots are used to teach around 40 students in each grade. It gives a small glimpse into the impact it will have later on. The crops chosen for planting have been picked according to feasibility so that it will contribute nutrition to other food crops already growing in the area. The room where this interview was taken is the primary school's resource center that houses various posters and books on farming. They have been provided to educate children on climate change. The wall is covered with sponsored posters of methods and techniques of farming food crops. Vincent Tobul says these are small snapshots of the enthusiasm shown by children to help the society. These are students' posters displayed in the resource center.
Because the children themselves are using it. And it, like if we are having a nutrition, if we are like in the subject, mal, making a living. In the community and the lower primary, they are looking at health or nutrition. They are doing their cooking. All right, that is where we are taking this crop from here. They are using it.
Students spend time on these plots and they have become young experts. But the highlight is the children bringing what they have been taught back home to their parents, introducing them to new skills.
Taking whatever they have learned, like now cassava, for example, it will be the food that must be stored for some good number of years. All right, and then they mix it up with the flour and then make the flour, meal, cassava meal or whatever is it. So we are doing that.
The success of the program and the overall project revolves around students whom educate their parents and extended relatives. The amount of time Vincent and other teachers have spent with students out on these plots has reaped benefits in the surrounding communities.
I visited areas, what there were materials that we have given the children, and I visited them. And then we are coming up with certain recommendations as of this year now will be implementing it. That is, the graduating students, the grade 8, will be passing away as we have given them their certificate. We will be giving them also the planting materials to take back to their own home.
But it isn't just the corns, soya beans and wheat. There is also the famous African yam. In a recent food security awareness that the students held for the parents, the African yam became the most famous food item. This is the top part of the crop above the ground, while the part that gets harvested is the tube or node below the ground. Vincent says it is now the most desired food crop, though none was ready for harvest. As soon as it is, people will want more of it. This type of yam is also perfect for dry climates. It stores water and can last for a long period of time after the harvest. Mothers around the community are also brought into the school to be taught about climate change and food security. Their role as mothers is important. They need to understand concepts of nutrition, but social stigma and old ways remain a challenge for women participation.
Once they came in, and then it started up well, and then all of a sudden they don't bother to come.
More on combating climate change in Ontabura. A non-government organization has pulled together other partners, government agencies, and several donors to prepare communities before food scarcity hits the area. They are using students in Ontabura Primary School to bring back what they've learned to their villages and teach their houseline or extended family. They say women and children have more influence in a community when they are united for the same cause.
In this small room at the Ontabura Primary School, teachers meet with evaluators brought in by NGO Care International. These independent evaluators are here this morning to establish whether the integrated community development project has worked or not, and whether it should continue or not. The evaluators are checking if the courses facilitated by Care International, government agencies and donors are working.
We have attended in 2012, that is Miss Makeo and myself, we attended the talks.
Was that on climate change?
On climate change.
In order for the project to continue, sponsors need to know whether funds are being implemented properly. Non-government organizations have strict guidelines to how money is spent. Tangible development must be seen in human resource and their communities. The evaluators are independent consultants and they are thorough in their work. The reason why these teachers are getting evaluated by a group of consultants are the students that they teach. Today, grade 7 students, including Dulcie Timmy and about 40 of her classmates, used the first 3 periods of their lessons for core subjects. Dulcie and her friends come from families in the surrounding valley who sell vegetables in the markets and survive on their garden produce. 99% of the time is spent in the classroom studying core subjects like mathematics and English, competing for space in high school. But today is a lot different. Dulcie and her friends will spend a small amount of time in their garden plot. They spend at least 2 periods in a plot allocated to them. The program is part of the integrated community development project. Dalsitimi and her classmates know about climate change and food scarcity. They are now bringing the knowledge back to the communities. Food security measures have reached some communities in Ontabura through these students. Things look bright with the effects of climate change lingering. Most students say their parents and community have taken advice from them and the outcome has been positive. The impacts of the project are of interest to these evaluators and the organizations that funds programs to help communities. The evaluators who assess teachers in this resource center want the students to tell them what they've learned.
Wanem sabe you plebin kissing. Time only schooling you long this la.
Call Kim lo one grade tapiok na mi pa planning. Start learn na go finishing no tamlo. Nem plots don plus molnari na ke combine one ten kam. Gimme pa.
All seedlings na bot mi plaxim go laus na. Mi pro plane all parents all mamas na. Slol ke to em good plan am pa ikena. Na lo outline from pa wano na mi plak plan slol ke to sta lo garden.
It's important that the next generation has to know about food security. What these students are taught is important. They are now capable of planting more crops that can survive in different soil conditions. This means communities won't starve or suffer from malnutrition when mothers, daughters, and even the men know what to plant and when to plant. Benedict McKayo lives in this house. Beside it is a fully grown African yam. Like the students that have learned to plant the food crop, she has also gained the skills.
Plant him, you can cut him. Lick, yeah, same one here. From out of one tuber like this, you can get 20 to 30 seeds. And you cut him. You cut him now. You cut him, finish, put him ashes floor, fire. Sit lo fire now, rub him on top lo and put him lo sun 3 days. And the sun dry him now. It is straight lo ground.
For now, programs have been laid out for students to learn different ways of cultivating land to plant crops suited for harsher conditions. The idea is to ensure that the next generation knows how to avoid famines that has hit other parts of the world. The issue of climate change resulting in food scarcity is real, and a small group of people is helping their countrymen and women to prepare for the worst.
Well, I worked for K International in PNG and specifically with the project Integrated Community Development Project. And in the project, we work according to people's priority, or what you call ward plans, where the people in a community or in a ward prioritize the needs through the wards, and that's how the needs of communities are identified and programs eventuate from there. So one of the programs that CARE has been working on in the last 2 years, or the project itself, ICDP, is the Schools Climate Change. And here we are today at the school place in Ontabura, where teachers and other community members as well as students go through a series of training where our technical partner, the National Agriculture Research Institute, teach them on the basics of climate change, food security, nutrition, and how they're all interrelated.
Trudy Seekers works for the NGO K International. She's part of a team that is behind a series of programs, all of which are part of the Integrated Community Development Project.
Okay, for children, we think that they would be the best. For us, we think they're an agent of change, and they're easy to learn things very fast. So you tell them something and they learn fast, and they go back into their households, into their family, and they tell their parents what they learned about the day and about, what we intend to teach them. And and upon that they provide the seeds to their family. And for example, an African yam, they tell their moms and dads in times of drought, time hungry, we have this crop that can be stored for a long period in terms of food security.
While the emphasis is on educating students on the techniques of growing food crops to counter the change in soil conditions caused by various rainfalls, we met David Kusa, who is now a successful farmer after he attended training at the Ontubura Primary School Resource Center, where he learned new farming skills. He says farming is successful and he had gone to Medang to sell his produce, including African yams.
These valleys show the dry season that has arrived in the area. The maroon grass top indicates the atmosphere has changed. Beyond the grass field are huts that show human life. Our people depend on these valleys for subsistent living. They have cultivated these valleys for thousands of years to plant the same food crops. But in recent times, the effects of climate change to food crops have changed the way gardening is done. Students who had been taught in school about food scarcity caused by climate change are spreading the education around surrounding communities.
All training was miximia boostimina was making my moral blow me and go yet molo work. Na me believe was work family and best law honorable work making work.
David Kusa is a model farmer who has benefited from the problem that has been facilitated by the Ontubura Primary School. David has turned his land into a small farm that is blooming with a variety of crops. The crops that he has planted have survived because of the training provided at the school and also by agencies partnered in the ICAP program of Care International. These techniques include building proper nurseries for planting seeds and soil sterilization. Soil content has changed over the many years that have passed.
Black ground, sand, na chicken menwa pek black aruk. Me mix him one time, na me use him three parts lo black ground, na one part lo chicken menwa na one part lo sand. Me mix him go through, me cook him or soil sterilization. Sterilize him soil. Now behind lo cook finish. Me lose him lo one day behind. Coal go down. Me put him lo nursery and me sow him seeds go down.
Seeds can't be planted straight into the ground, but before that, the soil has to be made pure in order for the seed to grow into a plant and yield the perfect harvest. David explains that Care International's ICAP program that brought in other government agencies like NARI has helped him in expanding his farm.
Me use him lo planting more seeds, sowing more seeds na tinim na time I'm ready behind lo 3 weeks na me lakarim go inside lo garden.
He now knows the steps to producing quality harvest during the struggles of climate change. He takes us out to the field where most of the seeds in the greenhouse are planted in plots within several hectares of land. David shifts shoots from his greenhouse to the field after several months.
So this plan, you may look at my greenhouse, blow all kind of seeds. So far, me raise him plant the seedlings finish. Long this nursery, that's nursery and helping me go through. Because nursery without nursery, garden blooming by none of your right.
But his farm isn't just producing corn, sweet potato or pineapples. David is also growing African yams.
Me take him whole African yam. Me so plant African yam here. Maybe me over in 2000 finish. Now me like I always team all plant. Na bami planning all. Bami planning come la hole. So this la hole me digging about.
African yams are difficult to plant. The crop needs a hole dug big enough to bury a coffin. This hole is already 4 by 1 meter and growing. But the yams can grow in tough conditions. With climate change hitting these parts of the highlands, soil conditions are changing because variations in rainfall.
You go around Olsem 2 meter or 1.5 meter now. Me pick him up one time on rubbish come and up. He come and up the top. Then me put in black soil and me plant him all cuttings, all African seedlings.
African yams are more suited for dry soil and also when there is excess water. But what's most special about this crop is that it can be stored for 2 years. These yams are ready to harvest. The leaves are dry, indicating that the tubes have reached their maximum size. But the rest of David's garden consists of a variety of produce. Though problems of soil quality is affecting a variety of crops, the skills David learnt at the Ontoburo Primary School has helped him plant healthier crops. Pineapples, sweet potato and corn are just some of the food crops growing better than they did before. David, like many of our country people, live on his own customary land and he's turning it into a subsistent, money-making vegetable farm, owned and operated by his family. But at the same time, he's teaching others. He refused to say just how much money he has made from selling his produce. In his culture, humbleness is taken very seriously. But the money was enough to make him quit his job and become a full-time farmer. By making use of the training passed from a primary school, David has overcome the change in soil condition and is growing food crops that are still marketable. But the problem is finding the right market for these food crops, including the African yam. David says for the last 3 harvests, his African yams have been taken down to Medang to be sold.
Me working this farming some years or some 3 years or 4 years ago finished now. Problem marketing. Me like stress because marketing am hard lo mitasol. Miximol produce lo me go lo main market, lay main market. Displatasol me no at one permanent contractor or contract me got lo supply all vegetables.
Education or health.
In a symposium held in Goroka that ended last week, stakeholders taking part in supporting the series of programs in Ontoburo presented their achievements. These achievements include other people from other parts of Oburo Wanem who have worked hard to prepare themselves for the challenges of climate change.
But what CARE has brought in, it unites, it brings the people on the ground, it brings the community leaders, it brings the councillors.
Oburo Wanem MP Mere Kipefa spoke of his district's development challenges during the symposium, but he says the future looks far better with proper planning being done.
Accordingly, as we amalgamate the energy plans to the district plans, we also have budgetary process in all those plans. Our plan remains the blueprint.
Those behind the integrated community development project say people are already self-reliant and can do things for themselves. They just need a little help.
And also strengthening that process of helping people to help themselves, that local planning part of the plan.
I think that one of the challenges for an NGO is actually understanding the importance of being aligned with the government processes in Papua New Guinea. Often NGOs work separately. They have their own priorities and they work directly with communities. But actually that can sometimes create confusion, and it can also not be the most effective way of producing sustainable positive change, which is what an organisation such as CARE is trying to achieve.
Peter Rayens, the country director of CARE International, says its integrated community development project aims to create gender equality, following organic laws and establish partnerships within the districts.
Working towards gender equality. The second is through working with a range of partnerships around this work so that all stakeholders are part of it and that all are feeding into this. And the third is working through the government mandate of the organic law and supporting our partners also to be part of that process.
In simple, the program will help over 1 million people living in 20 rural districts of our country become aware of what they deserve in basic services. But the real challenge still remains. Will the Oboro Wananara district have the capacity to carry out these programs after the NGO and stakeholders pull out? For the district administrator, the answer is yes, because funds should be made available.
I must say now that yes, we are capable. We are capable, given the fact that funding at the district level basically would come from the LLG SIP and DSIP, and of course little bit from district support grant or DSC funds. So yes, we are able to take on or sustain if West come to West, and if Care and Nari pull out.
But the problem faced by Oboro Wananara and many other rural electorates like it around our country are funding delays. These problems cause a lot of delays in delivering service and vital programs to our rural communities around the country.
It has been experienced over these years that funds for both LLG and for that matter LLG SIP and DSIP are released kind of late by the financial Magani.
Let me see where I am right now. My status depends on Waigani baskets. If Waigani basket is going down to Waigani swamp, then I'm sorry, I cannot get it all the way to Lamari River. It has to be, the only thing we have to do is to wait.
Oboro Wananara district is on the right track, even after past district administrations failed to improve ailing departments. Small but significant changes have occurred around the district station to indicate the level of commitment by the present district administration.
Like many other provinces, the Eastern Highlands is an agricultural-based economy. Its people grow coffee as a main source of cash crop, but that has been affected by climate change. Even food security is a major threat because food crops aren't growing like they used to because of changing atmospheric conditions. African yams are now being planted by the people to combat this problem. Because of changing atmospheric conditions, this food crop can grow in any soil temperature and rainfall.
Also speaking at the symposium held in Goroka was Nari Research and Development Coordinator, Dr. Akinapeli Rama, who spoke to an audience of stakeholders about the impending impacts of climate change. In this separate interview, Dr. Rama says that teaching people in rural areas like Oboro Wananara is important because the country has begun to face climate change.
In the last 30 to 50 years, the temperatures in Papua New Guinea have increased. Then the sea levels have been risen, and pest and disease problems, and also variations in the climate change. In other words, we can't really, sometimes you get heavy rain, sometimes you get continuous, sun.
Dr. Rama identifies two crops grown in the agricultural sector of the Eastern Highlands that includes places like Oboro Wananara and how their growth has been affected by climate change.
And the added dimension to it is, when I said temperatures are rising, that will influence the flowering. For example, in case of coffee, we are supposed to have coffee flowering 2 times in a year, but now you can see the coffee is flowering throughout the year. So when it flowers throughout the year, it has a kind of influence on the crop quality and productivity, because PNG coffee is known for quality. If we compromise with the quality, probably we may lose.
And there is also the staple food crop, cacao or sweet potato, that isn't growing well because of the increased rainfall causing more severe diseases to the crop.
Then we have continuous heavy high temperatures with bright sun. So this kind of combination is also creating a lot of problems for the people in the highlands, particularly because the soil is full of water, then there is high temperature, so the tubers are literally getting rotten, or kind of problems are happening, and these tubers are not having good kind of support in the market.
Dr. Rama also explains why it's important for education into growing African yams may just save communities when staple foods like sweet potatoes are being affected by climate change.
And that's all we have time for on this week's episode. Thank you to K International and all those who have participated in this episode. Next week, we take a look at the polygamy situation in the country. If you have any comments or stories you would like to share, please visit us on our Facebook page or contact us via the address on your screen. For now, enjoy the rest of your viewing on your #1 station, MTV.